Vincent Street is a Professor Emeritus of Language Education at King's College London and visiting Professor at the Graduate School of Education in University of Pennsylvania. He has mainly worked on literacy in both theoretical and applied perspectives, and is perhaps best known for his book Literacy in Theory and Practice, Biography. Street taught social and cultural anthropology for more than 20 years at the University of Sussex, and for the past 15 years he has supervised doctoral students and taught graduate workshops on ethnography, student writing in higher education and language and literacy. In 2009 he was elected Vice President of the Royal Anthropological Institute and has been Chair of the Education Committee of the RAE since 2006. He is currently involved in development projects in South Asia and Africa using ethnographic perspectives in training literacy and numeracy teachers, in a program known as LETTER. He has also been working with colleagues in Brazil with particular interest in ethnographic and academic literacies perspectives. A collection of papers concerning Latin America was published in 2012. Academic work. Street is one of the leading theoreticians within what has come to be known as New Literacy Studies, in which literacy is seen not just as a set of technical skills but as a social practice that is embedded in power relations. Street developed his theory in opposition to leading literacy scholars at the time, including Jack Goody and Walter J. Ong. These, and other scholars, represented what Street called an autonomous view of literacy, in which literacy is as a set of autonomous skills that can be learnt independently of the social context. The alternative view Street called ideological, since it acknowledges literacy's context-dependent and power-laden nature. Central to Street's conceptualization of literacy is the distinction between literacy events and literacy practices. The term literacy events was coined by Shirley Bryce Heath to refer to situations in which people engage with reading or writing, while literacy events refers to discrete situations. Literacy practices refers to the larger systems which these events create within a community. Literacy practices are the patterns of literacy events in a society. Different domains may have different literacy practices, as literacy has different functions within a society across domains. Street defines literacy practices as the broader cultural conception of particular ways of thinking about and doing reading and writing in cultural contexts. The notion of literacy practices stems from Street's fieldwork in an Iranian village, where he realized that people used literacy in different ways in different contexts and for different purposes. Maktab, school and commercial literacy practices. The uses and meanings of these were different. Maktab literacy was associated with Quranic schools, school literacy with secularization and modernization, and commercial literacy with the fruit trade. The commercial literacy sprang out of the Quranic literacy practices, rather than school literacy practices as the dominant view of literacy might expect, and Street explains this by the status and authority the latter practice had within the village. School literacy, on the other hand, although more technically developed, was oriented away from the village towards the cities. It was not the literacy skills as such, but the social functions associated with particular literacies that influenced the development of commercial literacy in this village. Later in his career, Street worked on academic literacy and numeracy, and both areas can be said to reflect and build on his view of literacy. In several articles on academic literacy, Street critiques the notion of academic literacy as a set of skills to give writing structure, content and clarity, and argues that this varies across disciplines, and that what is seen as appropriate writing is more closely tied to epistemologies and the underlying assumptions of different disciplines. The perspective of academic literacies acknowledges and takes into account the power and discourses within institutions and institutional production, and representation of meaning. Like literacy, Street sees numeracy as a social practice that cannot be reduced to a set of technical skills. Rather, they turn the focus to social factors, particularly the similarities or differences between school and home numeracy practices, and the implications of these, including ideology, power relations, values, and social institutions. Street argues that some maths practices are privileged over others, and this has to do with the control and status associated with social institutions and procedures. In that sense, we can adopt a similar approach to numeracy practices as social and ideological that has been developed with regard to literacy. Awards. Street was awarded the National Reading Conference's Distinguished Scholar Lifetime Achievement Award in 2008. Selected books: Grenfell, Michael. Language, Ethnography, and Education, Bridging New Literacy Studies and Bourdieu. New York, New York. Routledge. ISBN 9780415,872,485. Heath, Shirley Bryce. On Ethnography, Approaches to Language and Literacy Research. Approaches to Language and Literacy Research. New York, Teachers College Press, and CRLL, National Conference on Research in Language and Literacy, ISBN 978088748,664. Students writing in the university, cultural and epistemological issues. Studies in Written Language and Literacy. Amsterdam, Philadelphia, John Benjamin's Pub, 1999. ISBN 9027218013. Kalman, Judy, B.V. Street. Literacy and Numeracy in Latin America, Local Perspectives and Beyond. New York, Routledge. ISBN 9780415,896,092. Sheridan, Dorothy. Writing Ourselves, Mass Observation and Literacy Practices. Language and AMP, Social Processes. Kreskel, N.J., Hampton Press. ISBN 1572,732,776. Street, Brian V. Literacy in Theory and Practice. N.Y., Cambridge University Press. Street, Brian V. B. M. Kroll. Cross-Cultural Perspectives on Literacy. In E. R. Kintgen, M. Rose. Perspectives on Literacy. Carbondale Hill, Southern Illinois University Press. pp. 139-150. CS1 maint. Uses Editor's Parameter. Street, Brian V. Adult Literacy in the United Kingdom, A History of Research and Practice. Citesia. Street, Brian V. Social Literacies, Critical Approaches to Literacy in Development, Ethnography and Education. London, Longman. Literacy and Development, Ethnographic Perspectives. Brian V. Street, London and New York. Routledge, 2001. Literacies Across Educational Contexts, Mediating Learning and Teaching. Brian V. Street, Philadelphia, Caslon Publishing, 2005. Street, Brian V. Navigating Numeracies, Home, School Numeracy Practices, Multiple Perspectives on Attainment in Numeracy. Dordrecht, Netherlands. Springer, ISBN 1402036,760. Street, Brian V. D. Bloom, K. Parl. Letter, Learning for Empowerment Through Training in Ethnographic Style Research. In M. Grenfell, C. Hardy, J. Rosal. Language, Ethnography, and Education, Bridging New Literacy Studies and Bourdieu. New York and London, Routledge, pp. 73-88. CS1 maint. Uses editor's parameter. Selected articles and book chapters. Street, Brian V. The New Literacy Studies, guest editorial, Journal of Research in Reading. 1681-97. DOI 10.1111 J 1467-9817.1993 TB00039X. Street, Brian V. L. Thompson. Culture is a verb. Anthropological aspects of language and cultural process. In D. Gradol Ambirium, Language and Culture, Clevedon, UK, Ball in association with Multilingual Matters, pp. 23-43. CS1 maint. Uses editor's parameter. Street, Brian V. The Implications of the New Literacy Studies for Literacy Education, English in Education, 31, 45-59. DOI 10.1111 J 1754-8845.1997 TB00133X. Street, Brian V. Joan Turner. Students Writing in the University, Cultural and Epistemological Issues, Inc. Aries Jones, Brian V. Street. Amsterdam and Philadelphia, John Benjamin's Publishing Company, pp. 193-227. Missing or empty. Title equals CS1 maint. Uses editor's parameter. Street, Brian V. What's New in New Literacy Studies? Critical Approaches to Literacy in Theory and Practice. Current Issues in Comparative Education. 577-91. Street, Brian V. The Limits of the Local, Autonomous or Disembedding. International Journal of Learning, 10-2825-2830. Street, Brian V. Futures of the Ethnography of Literacy. Language and Education, 18, 326-330. DO 10.10800950780408666885. Street, Brian V. Thoughts on Anthropology and Education. Anthropology Today, 21-2. DOI 10.1111 J 0268540X 2004.00308X. Street, Brian V. The Hidden Dimensions of Mathematical Language and Literacy. Language and Education, 19, 135-140. DOI 10.10800950780508668669. Street, Brian V. At Last, Recent Applications of New Literacy Studies in Educational Contexts, Research in the Teaching of English. 39, 417-423. Street, Brian V. Applying New Literacy Studies to Numeracy as Social Practice, Urban Literacy, Communication, Identity and Learning in Development Contexts. Hamburg, UNESCO Institute for Education, 87-96. Street, Brian V. Society Reschooling, Reading Research Quarterly. 47, 216-227. Street, Brian V. Alan Rogers, Dave Baker. Adult Teachers as Researchers, Ethnographic Approaches to Numeracy and Literacy as Social Practices in South Asia, Convergence. 39-31. Street, Joanna C. Brian V. Street, M. Briggs, M. Salinger. The Schooling of Literacy. In J. Bourne, P. Murphy. Subject Learning in the Primary Curriculum. Issues in English, Science, and Math. London, Routledge, pp. 75-88. CS1 maint uses editor's parameter.